G'day guys, welcome back to Supercoach with DR and welcome to the Round 7 stock market video. Hope you all had a ripper of a round and good luck if you managed to avoid all of the carnage. I think every coach that I've spoken to copped a little bit of bad luck last week, whether or not that was a Matty Roberts type or unfortunately an Uber Primo such as your Tuke Miller that you see down the bottom. He is an absolute must sell this week. Are you a Brody Grundy owner? Major decisions there. Do you keep the faith, hold on to him, or just get out of Dodgeville now that Big Maxi's back? There's a bloke right there in the middle, Harry Himmelberg, that some people may be considering this week. How lucky do you feel? Do you think that he'll go back for an extended time? If so, a big discussion point, I think. We've got Sam Sturt there available on the bubble this week in our forward lines. And Mr. Seamus Mitchell, a defensive forward pick who had a massive last quarter last week, and I tell you what, I think he's now played his way into the Hawthorn back six in the short term anyway. So many things to discuss. Because of the short turnaround time, I'm going to try to cut this video in half, go for hopefully around the 30-minute mark. And another thing is, guys, I need to apologise. My upload speed has been terrible lately. Don't know what on earth is going on with my internet, but yeah, it is taking me hours and hours just to upload a quick video these days. So hopefully it gets up ASAP. I'll better leave it there. Let's get straight into it, guys. All the best for this week. Let's see who's sitting at the top of the 600k defender list. At the top of the list this week, we have a familiar face, the Anzac Medal winner for 2023, Nicky Dacos. What a performance. After being criticised for his lack of impact and lack of metres gained from his first 11 touches, he hit back hard, had a massive impact on the game, nailed 2 crucial goals in the last. Kid is a freak. I've got a sneaking suspicion that Benny Keys may give him a little bit of heat this week, but just a gut feel, see what happens. So he, along with the next man, Tommy Stewart, and my number 1 and 2 options this week if you want the safe picks. Dawson's another bloke I think's a really safe bet for a top 3 average, but obviously it's best to wait a week or two for that price to come down. He had his lowest score of the year, but we can give him a mulligan after what he's produced so far this year. He should hit back hard. So that's why I've got the target symbol on him. Close to a must-have, but not just yet. Ryan Cadiz will be a top 6. He's had a fantastic year to date. Don't mind if you want to go there. Seagull had a poor performance like most of his teammates. Break even is now in the red. And that really leaves 2 blokes who I have the watch, buy or target symbol on. And that's James Sicily and Jack Sinclair. Both premiums from 2022 have good scoring history and seem to be pretty safe bets here at the price. So buy now and you should be happy. You could also watch your target for next week as, look, even if they score 130, they won't be going up too much. Out of the 2, I prefer Sinclair myself, gone 113, 90, and 105 in his last 3, and I like his consistency. Sis is tracking up though with his last 3 scores being 76, 91, and 105, so up, almost identical averages for the season. Sicily took 4 out of 13 kick-ins on the weekend, his highest count since round 2, which was a little bit of a bonus. Sinclair had 4 out of 12, so again, very similar. Look, maybe buy structure could determine who you go with. If you're not in a rush to trade this week, then I'd say just take one more look at them both and then even commit next week. Onto the defenders, 250 to 500k, and this man, Will Day, I've said it a few times now, but a bloke that's just passed the eye test for me, and I may be wrong on this, but in my personal opinion, he is one of the best buys of the week. He comes with risks attached, no premium scoring history, durability hasn't been great. Has Warple played his way into some more mid-time? They're all really relevant factors and questions to ask ourselves. But on the other hand, I think he's the best midfielder on their list. He can win his own ball on the inside, run on the outside. He's hard as a cat's head, loves to tackle. He intercepted in that game during Geelong. Conditions weren't great, but he just gave his absolute all. Remember, Sam Mitchell told him in his exit meeting last year that he wants him to be a full-time mid. So there are a lot of positives to the selection. You save 100k or more on some of the other options that we just talked about, and that can go a long way, particularly with our limited cash gen. I think he's an absolute star in the making and also a potential keeper at D6. For the price, I'll take that. and his added DPP is that little cherry on top. So for me, the potential positives outweigh the negatives, but you may prefer to play it safer, spend up a little bit more for a more proven commodity such as your Sicily or such as your Sinclair. Liam Jones, hold or trade, it's up to you. He can punch out a 35 or he could punch out an 85. It's a bit of a raffle with Liam, so not a must trade out, but if you need to move someone on to keep your upgrades moving up, then he's fine to go. McVee, he's a hold for owners, but we don't invest. Harry Himmelberg, now it's a question of how lucky do you feel. There's a lot of interest this week, particularly with Taylor going down, as Harry dipped his feet into the defensive line last week. I saw him up close, and I'll tell you what, he is a great mark. Reads the play really well. We know what his strengths are. We saw what he did last year when he played down back. That's what we're hoping for this year, but it hasn't panned out that way to date. The main issue here is that it's hard to see the Giants committing to him down back. There's every chance in the world that he plays forward this week if they value him more in that position for that given week. It's almost impossible to tell. So Harry is the ultimate risk versus reward pick. If you trade him in and he plays down back, you win. But if he plays forward, you lose. So I'm not even going to try and guess. I'm not looking to bring him in myself because of that reason. If I knew he was playing down back, absolutely, I'd bring him in. So yeah, if you feel lucky, go for it. If not, then I'd probably avoid. Lockie Weller, 105, 134 in his last two against the Dockers and the Roos. 28 touches, 14 marks, 3 tackles on the weekend. Only the one kick in. Power took the majority of those. There's a fair bit of competition down back this year. I'm not talking at the Suns, but we saw the blokes on the first list. You've got your Will Day types as well. So you'd be brave to take him over some of the options. But he's only in 285 teams. The ultimate lone wolf pod. He could make or break you. Darcy Wilmot, Pepsi Max King, he's done his job, getting close to having to say goodbye to him. He's had 3 scores of 68 plus, a couple of 50s, then a season low of 39 last week. Probably needs a spike game this week to maintain that cash gen. So I think it's okay to trade if you need to, but it's also very safe holding for another week. Hopefully he gives us one of those 68s against Freo. I just love this man. Just love him. Jay-Z, looking like a keeper for me. A 111 on the weekend with Hall back in the side. That was awesome. Has lovely DPP swing to cover on 2 lines where some of us may have a dodgy rookie or two. So a very handy piece to have. I've got the rock solid symbol on him there. Jimby, look, his break-even's still in red, but you can hold if you want. Many let go of him last week, so completely up to you there. Connor McKenna, he's probably ripe for the picking at the moment. One you can trade, one you can hold, depending on your personal situation. A couple of lower scores in a row with the inclusion of Rich back in the team. He's slightly suffered, but look, watching him live, he actually put himself in good positions, didn't get used at times, so I think he got burnt by his teammates on at least a couple of occasions. Don't know if, yeah, as I said, you could see that in the TV. Over half his scores have been over 78 plus, so there's certainly scope for him to be a valuable on-field option for the next week or two if you do decide to hold. Look, after a 103 in round 4, Maxi has dropped a 60 and a 50, which is disappointing. At the same time, it's okay compared to, say, the Cowns of the world. Another hold or trade, but he's one of the more reliable rookies to play on-field, but at the same time, that break-even is getting high, and you may just want to cash out at this stage. If I was in that position, I would probably cash out myself. Plays the Pies this week. And Ridley, a high efficiency game from him, and a nice first half scoring-wise. Always seems look to set, looks to set to score 100 and then lets us down. I've got the luxury symbol on him there, as I think for owners, this is a luxury trade if or when we can. On to the defenders under 250k and potentially a little bit of action here this week. Up the top, we have Seamus Mitchell. Really stepped up to plate when the game was on the line in the last quarter. Displayed great temperament, accumulated 9 disposals and 5 marks just in the fourth, which actually doubled his disposal count. At the end of the game, he had 15 touches at close to 90% efficiency, 6 marks, 6 intercepts and 3 tackles for 79 points. Has great DPP status to link up with Shees, Jay-Z and co. And in my opinion, he's played his way into the team short term anyway. He could be only one poor performance away from losing his spot with blokes like Bramble in the twos and Scrimshaw. He was a sub last week. Pretty sure he may have even played forward when he came on though, but for now he is the obvious trade-in option for me, and I am locking him in this week. Wagner, here's the other option you could go with here. Like Mitchell, is on the bubble this week, has a mature body, loves to take the game on, has an aggressive mindset, seems to want the ball in his hands, but particularly in week one, it was turnover city, and that reflected in his score. Did have a decent kick to handball ratio, but I do question some of his decision making and certainly his execution. Last week only had a couple of clangers though, so that's a positive. He did manage to punch out a decent score. Job security may be a little shaky with Chapman due back very soon, and the great Damo from Jock Reynolds did put out a tweet saying don't be surprised if he is omitted this week. So stay tuned for team selections on Thursday night. Sincotta, he's probably one to talk about next week. I never like going early, but I'm thinking he may be one that we plan for after this week when he's on the bubble. 24 touches and 7 marks, only a quarter of his disposals were kicks, so for 67 points, that was good. I'm trading Cowan this week, so hopefully even when Sard returns, Sincotta can replace him. This is not replacing Sard, replacing Cowan, but I think we should definitely wait a week anyway before trading him in, just to make sure he's guaranteed a third game and a price rise. Gould, always going to be a sub risk, don't go near him. And as I mentioned, Cowan is ready to chop for mine. It's up to you, but I just don't see a spike game coming anytime soon. I think it's only a matter of time before he actually starts to lose some coins, so he's Gonski for me this week. On to the midfielders, 500k plus. And Mr. Bontempelli, what's a game? Janice went through his numbers last night, and they were jaw-dropping. 31 touches, 18 contested, 10 tackles, 8 clearances, 2 goals, and a specky to boot, if you don't mind. Well done if you had him as a VC. He dominated for 182 points. I view him as a must-have now. Danger, he's on fire. You can't keep the great man down. I won't select him due to his age, but if you trust his body, he could be worth it. 103, 119, 118, and a big 144 in the last month. Sarong, he's entering, I'd probably say, uber primo status. I have him in a draft, and I'm a big believer. 70, that wasn't great in round 1, but 101, 146, 100, 146, and 130 are good numbers. On the weekend, had 35 touches, 19 of those contested, 6 tackles, 10 clearances, only the 9 kicks, but still a super game. There may still be a little bit of value here, only in 5% of sides. So, yeah, if you want to go a little bit different, I do not mind him at all. Shorty, I'm watching him very closely this week as a potential future DPP pod. 130 points, playing in his optimal role of half-back. He's got me interested, but can we trust that he keeps this role? I'm not too sure, but certainly one just to keep an eye on. Degoe been a really consistent player this year, apart from round 2, where he scored a season low 84, and that's not a super low floor by any means, is it? Apart from that, all 100 plus, 130, 122, 107, and 116 last week from 28 touches, 2 tackles, and a couple of goals. He's also being a good boy, but can he keep this behaviour up? I think he can, you know. I don't mind the pick if you're looking to save some coin on one of the absolute uber elites. Zeret, he certainly seems right for the picking. A low break even, in good form. Obviously missed last week though. But I actually prefer him from round 10 onwards, where he plays Richmond, West Coast and North. But again, certainly a good time to bring him in now. Parish, I was expecting a lot from this man on Anzac Day. And look, 110 isn't anything to scoff about. But look, was I expecting too much? Was I just hoping that history repeated? Probably, but look, 110's okay, but similar to Merritt, I'd prefer to pick him up when he's got that easier run. Rory Laird, he would be an absolute buy now for me, but news has just come through that potentially he may be carrying an injury and is under slight doubt for this week. If that's the case, I will be absolutely shattered, because as you can see, that 3-round average, 119, he's looking back to his best. 29 touches last week, but laid 12 tackles, which was a season high. I think it was 8, was his second highest count for the year. So the fact that he went +4 on that shows me that he's really, really hunting the opposition. He wants the ball in his hand. He wants to hunt them down. Got that aggressive mindset. So, look, the only issue is that he might be carrying something. If news comes through that that's a bit of bullshit, I'm not too sure. I don't know how reliable it is, but if he's healthy, he's a great selection. If he's not, I'd probably avoid just to be safe. Jelly, one you can bring in if you want. I've got the watch symbol on him, but feel free to bring him in. Had a really good game last week, but the week before was extremely disappointing. So, yeah, it's always a bit of a risk. Has these weird type injuries, may miss a game, but yeah, completely up to you there. Walsh and Cripps, the two Carlton boys. Take your pick here. You're paying a little bit more there for Sammy Walsh, 117 average though. Paddy Cripps seems to go in and out of games, but decent score last week. 120 isn't a terrible break even, but doesn't really match up with that 3-rounder of 108. As you can see, Walsh break even is absolutely on that 3-rounder. They project him to go 102, lose a bit of coin, but if he goes right on that break even, then he'll stay at 610. You can always just get another look at him for another week. The issue here, obviously, and I haven't even mentioned it, it's obvious, so I just don't want to rub it in for owners, is that Tuke Miller is a must trade out. So, look, there's many plays you could go here. I've got two more, I suppose, I'll go through. Jack Steele is an absolute pass for me at this stage. Huge break even there, 3-rounder of 80. He'll go below 500k, I think. Can we pick him up ultra cheap? Possibly, if he hits some form. And Clayton Oliver, you can see there that 3-round average is only 111. Certainly not what people paid 700k for. If you started with him over the season, A-OK. But if you did trade him in over the last 3, you can see that there's been other picks such as your Bont, Danger, Sarong and Laird that have all gone better than him. So slightly disappointing there. Personally, I'm hoping that he gets to around the 640k mark. And when he does, I simply have to get him in my side. So that's my personal plan. Target him in a couple of weeks. I don't want to do it, but I'll give you a little option and maybe giving away one of my future trade plan secrets here. And it's just an option, but let's just say Setterfield and Ashcroft would get you up to the great man Clary Oliver. So something I may consider, but at the same time, Ashcroft and Setterfield are two players that I'd really love to hold on to. On to the midfielders, 250 to 500k. At the top of the list, we have Finn Callaghan, a hold for owners, but Noel's a trading option. Warple, he's in the same boat, an easy hold. He's still got cash to make, but don't be surprised to see his CBAs decrease with Day back in the side. If that's the case, you may need to jump off next week. Bit of a wait and see there. Rao, a 109 and a 124 in his last 2. Can he really step up and fill the Miller void? We've seen this bloke go bananas in his first few games, but I don't know. Look, we know that he's got it in him. Will he deliver, though, to make it worth your while? Not for me, because I've got too many names ahead of him. But if you're a Real believer, you could do a bit of a lone wolf there. Hollands and Baker are both hold for mine. You could still chop if you need to, but they seem fine to leave in your side for at least another week. Jacob Hopper, he's an easy hold, doing his job perfectly, and should be one of our last upgrades. If we're really desperate, there's a chance we could need him at M8 for the year. Hopefully not, but desperate times could call for desperate measures. Phillips, he was subbed out last week, which was unlucky, so we got the sub symbol there. Job security was looking okay. Now it seems a little dicey. Another one where we waiting to see for team sheets, and hopefully he'll get the nod in the 22. Ashy, he's one of the most reliable rookies out there. He's basically been giving us consistent 70s to 80s each week. He'll continue to do so. Has a capability to go over 100 as well. So here's a hold for me. I know some want to use him as trade material to maintain their upgrade cadence, and I can understand that, but if you can find a way to hold on to him, that would be my advice. Has a decent matchup with Ferro this week. Ollie Wines, he's had a shocker, so just one to put on your bargain bin watch list for now. And Setterfield, look, here's a hold or sell depending on your situation and trading strategy. You could chop him and say a rookie to upgrade to an uber mid, or you could just leave him on your side for now and most likely receive a score between 75 and 100. My focus personally is getting rookies off field, so he stays for me. But if you're adopting a different strategy and going for the best of the best, move him on if you please. And you can see the symbol there. As always, each week, a big shout out to the legends at the centre bounce, my man, Joey and Big J. On to the midfielders under 250k, and unfortunately, no shining lights here. Matty Johnson had an underwhelming 35, but this should have been a 50. I explained why in detail on the Swordplay potty. So, look, if he plays this week, he should make a little bit of coin, but he really needs a spike game to start some decent cash gen. Rouston, whatever his name is, I got the poo symbol on him. Another bloke I watched live and just didn't look near it. I'd be surprised if he played this week. And after having a half-decent CBA role in his first 2 matches, that's what attracted me to the pick. That role has gone completely out the window. No CBAs on the weekend. A failed pick. One we can probably jump off. Frustrating, though, when he hasn't made near enough profit. And Mackenzie, most jumped off last week, but if you didn't, it seems like a sensible thing to do this week. Break-evens in the red. Roll isn't there, and we have other options on the bubble. Has already lost 18k just last week. On to the big boys in the ruck, and Samson Ryan did really well for his owners on the weekend and's really got his cash gen going with a nice score in his system. Nice ruck cover as well if you've just got him sitting in your forward line. I've got the ship has sailed symbol there, as I think that the 220k mark is just a little bit too much at this stage. But look, if you want to bring someone in with ruck cover with some meat on the bone, I suppose that you could. Asava, I've got the rock solid symbol on him. A 75 after a pair of 88s. That's fantastic, and currently my F6 seems super reliable. And Janeth also mentioned in the Swordplay pod that since Stewart has returned, Asava's scores have actually gone up. So you can go back and check out that data. Great call by the numbers man. My boy Shrek got me excited on the weekend. Got me... I'll tell you what, I better stop there as it may become inappropriate for this channel, but after dominating the likes of Moyle and co, he came up against the best scorer in the comp in Team English, and he went bang, did everything you could have possibly wanted, more than held his own, didn't get even chopped up around the ground, contested marks, intercepts. He was unreal, and what a confidence boost for owners to see him just manage to outscore English. I would have taken, a minus 10 differential in a heartbeat. But after that performance, my confidence with the Shrek pick is as high as it's been all year. Damn, I'll probably jinxed him now, haven't I? Look, I won't say anymore about Shrek. I really don't want to jinx the man, but yeah, playing really, really well. As a Rowan owner, myself, I'm getting pretty fed up with his mediocre average, particularly when you don't own a bloke below him. Highly owned, and in my personal circumstance, he's a luxury upgrade if or when I get the chance. If you've literally got no carnage and can get him up to English without too many worries, then go for it. I'd love to be in that position myself, but for most of us, we just share the pain together now. And let me tell you, it was Janeth that alluded me to this. His last 3 scores against Port, who is coming up against this week, 160, 132, and 127. By far his most favourable matchup. So when you look at his history, his career average against Port is 139.5. Absolutely nuts. So hold for this week, and fingers crossed, history repeats. He is playing the first game. Could you risk him as a VC? It could be an option. I'm not saying to go there, but if history does repeat, then we're going to be very, very happy owners after the game. English, he's always the obvious pick if you're looking to invest in the ruckman, I think. Obviously, he needs to pay up, but how can you not recommend the highest score in the game? 134, 139, 139, 135, 139. Loves a good 139, doesn't he? And then, I'll tell you what, poor old Team English owners get his lowest score of the season last week, a lowly 131. Trash for his standards. So, look, if those scores don't convince you, then I don't know what will. Witty, he's been a frustrating hold for owners, but if you've held for this long, surely you're not trading now. I wouldn't look to invest in him though. And on to Brodie Grundy, and owners have a big decision on their hands to trade or to hold. At quarter time, he had mid 40% time on ground and 3 Supercoach points. By half time, he went up to 18. And by this stage, the picks looked as dead as a doornail. Let me know in the comments section as well. Was it disrespectful to Brodie Grundy to take him out of the first bounce after the fact that he has been the R1 for the last few weeks? He's been in ripping form. It's an interesting conversation. Let me know. I'll be interested to hear your take on that. But in the second half, his TOG and ruck time increased, and he managed to salvage a stomachable score in the circumstances, I suppose. Big second half. But, I suppose this was always coming when Max came back. Things could still work out, but even if he drops, say, a low 80s this week, then you'll quickly start to see his profits and average rapidly decline. So a big decision to make here, and I'm glad I'm someone that doesn't have to make it. Do you take the potential hit, keep him for another week, and then trade him Big Maxi next week? He's basically guaranteed to lose a lot more money than Grundy this week, so technically you're still getting somewhat of a discount next week. With the potential of Gawn being ordered DPP, makes him an interesting prospect, but we obviously watch him closely this week and then reassess the week after. Onto the forwards, 500k plus, and as you can see, most break-evens are in green, so possibly some friendly price points here. To be honest, it's not really worth discussing many of these blokes in detail. Look, for example, Taranto and Dunkley are owned by 97.3 or more of the top 1% ranked coaches. Rosie is owned by 86% of them. So some very common picks. But on the other hand, if you want to take a different path from those sitting right at the top, Butters is owned by 5.6% of the top 1%, Cameron 3%, and Baker 4.4%. Cameron is arguably the best player in the comp. His ceiling makes him a really tantalising prospect, but he'll now set you back close to 600k. The value isn't there, but the potential to knock out some monster scores definitely remains. Baker, I've got the role reversal symbol on, with Short coming back into the side. I think due to his versatility, he could switch up roles and possibly land forward. No guarantees about anything, and I'd probably hold for another week and then make the decision. I'd definitely not be bringing him in though, too risky for me. And Butters, here's an interesting one sitting at the top of the list. Keep in mind he has that 146 in his system from the Bulldogs game, and he dominated that. But aside from that big performance, he's had scores of 101, 67, 79, 89, and 94. So some okay scores, but it doesn't really read keeper material. But his CBA rate has really increased in the last 3 weeks, going at 68%, 64%, and 55%, up from his first 3 matches with only 33%, 41%, and 12%. So his role is improving. He should be around the top 10 mark, but with new potential DPP additions, I'm talking likes of Gawn, possibly Petrarca, who knows who else. Can he cut the mustard? With Butters, I'm not really confident either way. You might have a better read on the pick than me. Onto the forwards, 250 to 500k. Up the top, we have Fergie, another 3 goals and 77 points, almost identical to last week's performance, where he kicked 3 for 76 points. And talk about consistent, the week before he scored a 73 from 2 goals. I actually called this one really well. I said that if he started to kick straight, he'd score 65 to 75. After kicking 4 behinds in round 2, in the last 3, he's kicked 8 goals straight. Already made some great coin and will continue to do so in the near future. Don't even consider trading this bloke out yet. An easy hold. JJ, still a speculative pick for mine. We all know what happened with Jones, and he turned out to be a major trap. But JJ actually performed okay. Went another 80 plus. I just don't think he's keeper material though. Oscar Allen, also been in ripping form. I was really big on him pre-season, then too many other players gained my interest and I went a little bit cold on him, but he's been a very successful pick. Already made over 163k, kicking regular goals, hauls of 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and 2. Another easy hold for owners. Chandler, he reset his break-even with a nice 85, kicked a few goals, back to his damaging best after a quietish start, and all of a sudden, he's regenerated his cash gen. Very good news for owners, as, what, a 40 type score, that could have killed him off slightly, so an easy hold. The Tomahawk, not many people own, so for those that do, obvious hold, but for non-owners, one that could end up being a cheap, empty wallet type. Toby Green, watched him live last week, that goal from the boundary line, that was unreal. super skillful. I did applaud that one. I must admit, I did applaud that. You've got to do that as a football lover. Had 33% CBAs, but I expect that to go down with Green back this week. He's been in great form though, 91, 120 and a 101 in the last 3, averaging 22 touches and a touch over 2 goals during that time. Philippou is probably ready to chop if you need, but no rush. Still a safe hold for a week. Choice is yours. Cogs, he's clearly the best buy here. I jumped on him last week, was stoked with his performance, close to a complete game from a midfielder, 38 touches, 15 contested, 8 tackles, 9 clearances. Back to primetime Cogs, he's great value. In my personal opinion, one of the absolute best buys from any line this week, and time to jump on if you don't own him. Owens continues to impress as the Saints do as a whole, 143, 84 and a 114 in the last 3. That's great. Can he keep it up, even push to keeper status? Probably not, but he deserves a lot of respect for what he's doing. Mr. Sheasel, not a lot went right, and all of a sudden, we've got some slight concerns. You can see the symbols there. We've got the tag symbol and the slightly worried symbol. Hall's back seemed to slightly affect his role. Holman tagged him, gave him some close attention. He had a cork in, a sore thumb from last week heading into the game. So we can certainly forgive the young fella for a down game, but hopefully the Hall and potential tag factor doesn't affect him moving forward. We all own him, so I'm 100% a firm hold for now, but we may need to reassess in, say, a couple of weeks. Was moved into the midfield, end up forward at stages, so we'll see how he goes. Hopefully he'll hit back. And they're all, again, I'm a firm hold. Use the ball terribly. Shocking efficiency, which is unlike him. Played on a wing due to the Roberts injury. Geelong absolutely smashed him. I think we can hopefully just write last week off. Hope he returns to his early season form. And we still haven't seen close to a ceiling game in season as of yet. So, Common Errol, give us something, mate. Repay the faith, son. And we'll finish off with the forwards under 250k. Thanks for sticking with me as always. Sammy Sturt seems like the obvious rookie trade-in this week if you are looking for a forward. A talented player. He scored 100 in his debut game a couple of years ago. I think they need to get games into him. He's had some injury troubles though, which hasn't allowed him to consistently get out in the park, but he's more than capable at the level. We'll give you some half-decent scores as well as some poorer scores. That's just the nature of the role, and Freo are not travelling that well as a side at the moment, but he's on the bubble and the best buy out of this list if you're looking to downgrade. Matty Roberts, what a train wreck it was. We all know the story by now, so no need to go into it. He's a dead rookie for the short term at least, so I'm holding for now and using as a mid-forward loop for the time being. Super unlucky there, particularly if you had him on field like me. JVR, the yin-yang symbol, is very appropriate this week because he did nothing for the first 3 quarters, 1 rotation away from being subbed out, and then he turns into the best forward in the game during the last quarter, close to winning them the game, had a big say in the result of that. And as I said in my round review, it goes to show that it's never too late to have an impact, from disaster and a major cash halt to an 80 and a negative break even. What a comeback from the young man, playing North this week and with a boatload of confidence. That could mean another decent score. Dill Williams, he was a sub, so too risky to bring in now. I'm guessing most avoided last week anyway. Probably worked out better than Roberts, so didn't it? Humphrey, he was also the sub, so he's also got, we should have the sub symbol there. Forgot to put it on, sorry. But I reckon he starts this week. I think he starts this week because he was a bit of a super sub. When he came on, did have a real impact. He's probably too expensive to bring in. But as I said, looks like an exciting player. Oozes confidence too. Davey, you can chop and hold. Totally up to you. But I traded a couple of weeks ago now. And that is it for the forwards under 250k for this week. So that's it for our rapid stock market video this week. All the best luck with your trade-ins and your trade-outs, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Cheers, guys. Bye.